Let's talk about the commission that you serve on and how we monitor the CARES Act. Still no chairperson of that commission. Is it doing the work it needs to do to make sure? We just heard Steve Leisman's report. That is crazy that every state it might make more sense to, in terms of what the minimum wage is, to stay at home than to go back to work.
Well, yeah, that I think is a very, very badly flawed policy, but that's not actually under the responsibility of our commission. We're focused exclusively on the Fed lending facilities,
right?
And that's a huge program, about $500 billion from the Treasury to fund vehicles that the Fed can then lend money to. So it's a total of several $1 trillion that between the Treasury and the Fed, we're making available to the economy. And our job on this commission is to just ensure that that's being done in full compliance with the law in a transparent way, in a way that's fair. And, we don't have a chairman, as you pointed out, but the four of us who have been appointed have been working together. We've put out 2 full reports so far. We're required to put out a monthly report under the statute. We have met that requirement. We're going to meet later this week with Secretary Mnuchin and Chairman Powell in an informal discussion. We'll have a full hearing soon, and I hope we'll have a chairman that will certainly facilitate our work.
Any more needed, would you say, and not in terms of the Fed, but just in terms of another stimulus package? You're on the record that you think.
No. I'm not a fan here, Joe. We've appropriated about $3 trillion. We've authorized the Fed to lend what could easily be even more than that. Call it $6 trillion. That's 30% of our entire annual GDP. Fortunately, we're now beginning to reopen. That's what we need to do. Government spending can never be a substitute for having an economy. We've got to get this economy going. We've done an enormous amount already. There's a certain point where all of this debt that we're created, some of which is being monetized, that has its own price that we're going to pay. I don't know exactly when. We don't know exactly how. But this isn't just an endless well that we can just keep, dipping into and think there's no adverse consequences. So I'm in favor of continuing on the path to reopen. We've got most of the Fed facilities have not yet been accessed even. I think we need to understand better why that's the case. But I'm not really excited about yet another stimulus bill.
And if you were Fed chairman, instead of just watching what's going on, you would do basically everything that's been done? You give the Fed good marks?
I give the Fed very good marks. I do wonder whether they need to have a presence in the corporate bond market anymore, since the corporate bond market is operating really very, very well. In fact, we've had an all-time record volume of debt issuance. So clearly the private capital markets have stepped in, probably in response to the fact that we stood up a backstop, right? This corporate bond buying program that we authorized of the Fed and that the Treasury has funded. It's there, and it has, I think, reassured the markets to a very large degree. I'm not sure we need to actually be having the Fed going into the market and buying these bonds. I think there's questions about the Main Street lending program, right? That has not been drawn down significantly by mid-sized borrowers. And the question is, why not? What I'm hoping, and we're still trying to get the data on this, what I'm hoping is it's because these intended beneficiaries are finding access in the private markets. They're drawn down on credit lines with banks, finding other ways to access credit. But I don't know that that's a fact yet. That's a theory that we need to understand better. But by and large, I do think the Fed response in this crisis has been very good.